Hello, how are you all doing today?
It's Friday.
It's a wonderful, you know what I say on Friday? Only 2 more work days till Monday. Okay, here's the deal. So some of you want one story, some of you want another, so you're going to get both, and you all pick what you want to cover, okay? First, I want to introduce you to Caden Brown, who's 14, and Jaquarius Harrison, who's 17. Harrison has no previous criminal history at 17 years of age, but Caden Brown on the left, who's only 14, was currently on probation. Are you ready for this? For burglary from September of 2018. But obviously, Caden didn't learn very well, and he talked Harrison into getting into trouble, who had no criminal history at all, when they showed up at Guns Galore at 1:50 Monday morning to break into the gun store. Now, what does a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old need to be breaking into a gun store for in the first place? Unless, of course, you want to now illegally possess guns. So they hit the front window trying to break it out. Guns Galore has put some really good technology and safety and security measures in place since the last time and the time before that they were broken into. Of course, the alarm went off. We have these wonderful pictures of these 2 young criminals as they run off. So we contact witnesses who identify them and say, oh, I can tell you who your burglars are. So now we have Mr. Harrison here, who's never been in trouble, who's charged with attempted burglary, conspiracy to commit burglary, and we've got Caden here with the same charges to include a violation of probation. This is why we say the juvenile system needs improvement. This guy went on probation in September, and he didn't get any adult leadership that told him you should not commit more crimes, or maybe he did and he just ignored. But they didn't get any guns, but they picked up some felony charges. And it's going to be our goal to see if we can't get Caden Brown in some kind of program. So we try to get his attention. He's only 14 years old, and he's already amassed a multiple felony record at 14 years old. And Mr. Harrison, who's 17, you need to stay away from young thugs. I mean, this guy's 3 years younger than Harrison, who has 0 criminal history, but Brown managed to get Harrison in trouble.
Sheriff, why do you think they keep targeting Guns Galore?
Well, you know that Guns Galore was broken into a couple of times, and their security was not as robust as it should have been. But they totally changed their attitude. They've got incredibly good security, and I want to compliment them for that. So I don't know if it was just close to the area or there was a history and they thought they could go back into Guns Galore. But beware, Guns Galore is a good business and they now have great security. But why, you know, the interesting thing, to show the brazenness of these guys, when you look at the video, they're standing in front of the store at 1:50 in the morning with partially covered face masks and cars passing on Cumbie Road. Does anyone dial 911 and say, we got 2 guys with masks on standing in front of the closed store? No 911 calls. But I can tell you this, what's their mama and daddies doing? Why are 2 kids out on a Monday morning at 2 in the morning breaking in stores? That's what you got mamas and daddies for, to pay attention to this. Where were you, mamas and daddies? You failed your kids, and they're locked up and in trouble. They need to be home in bed asleep, not out trying to break into gun stores. Okay? So that's enough of that deal. All right, here's the next one. I want to introduce you to Bionel Gomez. He's 48 years of age. This may come as a news flash to you, but Bionel You see, it's important to know that y'all were just going to let me do that, weren't you? This is all my fault because, see, I wrote my notes this way. So now I'm going to have to read my notes sideways. Bayonel, is it up? How about this? Bayonel Gomez, who's 48 years of age, was on Highway 1792 in the area of Shamrock Road in Davenport on February the 9th. So what does he do? He turns in front of a Chevy Aveo where a 22-year-old lady who's 8 months pregnant T-bones him. So Bayonel violates the right-of-way. The crash occurs. The lady T-bones him. Our victim slides into another car. He jumps out and runs. Newsflash. You know why he runs? He has no driver's license. You know why he has no driver's license? He's here illegally from Mexico. Did you hear me? He's here illegally from Mexico. And he violates this lady's right-of-way. She T-bones the car. We send her to the hospital, and we discover that her 8-month pregnancy, discover that the baby that she's 8 months pregnant with is deceased. That's right. He deported in 2000, where he was here illegally. He came back illegally. He drove a car illegally. Now this 22-year-old lady lost her baby, her little boy, who was to be born less than a month later. It breaks my heart. But here's another example that if this person who was in this country illegally for the second time was still in his home country, this crash couldn't have happened and killed that baby. And he fled. He ran. What do you know why he fled? Well, this is a picture of him buying his beer 2 hours before the crash. 2 hours before the crash. And that frustrates me really, really, really bad. So, he's on the run. He's quit his job. He's vacated his house in Davenport. We don't know where he is. We have been searching for him so we can lock him up in jail. But here's a person of interest. We don't know her name yet, but she had his credit card or debit card and was seen trying to withdraw money in the last day or so. We need to know who she is. We need her name because she apparently is assisting in hiding him out and getting him money. I suspect so he can flee the area. There's a chance he may still be in the Davenport area, the Orlando Davenport area. But she's trying to get him some money right now. So we know he's wanting to leave. Maybe he's going to self-deport again. We don't want him to self-deport. We want him locked up in the county jail so we can send him to prison for causing a 22-year-old mom to lose her baby that was to be born in less than a month. Okay? We need your help with this.
He's being charged with manslaughter.
He's been charged right now. We're still dealing with the state on this particular charge. We certainly wanted to charge vehicular manslaughter. However, we are charging that he fled the scene with injuries at this time. They're researching the law to see if the law will allow us to do that. Quite frankly, if it doesn't provide for it, then I'm going to approach the legislature and go, if the child is viable, what he's done is he's killed the baby. And that's what he did. He killed the baby. This guy, this illegal alien, through his carelessness, killed the baby. and then fled from the traffic crash. And now he's hiding.
Sheriff, does your office know how he came back into the United States illegally? You mentioned that he came in the first time and then the second time. Any idea at this point how he regained it?
No, we don't know how he regained entry. Apparently, he self-deported when he was arrested or went through the system last time. I don't know if he was arrested last time. Maybe they called him here and immigration was going to deport and he self-deported. But then he came back and he's here from every record that we see illegally again with no driver's license. He does a careless act. The child dies and then he runs from the scene. Well, don't you suspect that 2 hours earlier he bought this beer? So, I'm a trained investigator. He was probably drinking and driving and obviously made a horrible, tragic turn in front of this 22-year-old lady.
We know that he bought the beer. Is there any proof from the scene that he was drinking the beer while he was driving or had been intoxicated?
Well, do you know, I can tell you from a great deal of experience, normally when you buy beer, you drink it. Okay? Now, did anybody see him tipping one? No. But why would you run if you, except that you don't have a driver's license, you were probably drinking and you didn't want to get caught for DUI in a traffic crash? What he needs to know, if he doesn't know, is he killed a baby. He killed a baby.
Sheriff, you mentioned there was a 1-year-old girl in the car as well. Was that the woman's daughter?
That was a woman's daughter.
Have you talked to the woman? How is she and the 1-year-old?
She was taken to the hospital as precautionary because she was not significantly injured, but of course she's 8 months pregnant and she's been involved in a pretty serious crash. And that's where they discovered that the baby was deceased when she arrived at the hospital. I can tell you this, that our traffic homicide detectives have been dealing with her and working with her every day. We're heartbroken over it, but more than that, we're angry. We're angry that he fled from the scene, and we know this, unequivocally, without any doubt, if he was in his home country, his country of origin, he wouldn't have been here to have pulled in front of this lady, to have caused this crash, and this baby would be either born or preparing to be born within the next month.
Do you think this is an example of perhaps that the system failed in this case, showing maybe that this country needs tighter immigration laws or measures to keep people away?
Well, I can tell you that the concern that I have, and I stand behind this podium and tell y'all this on a normal basis, people that are in this country illegally committing crime need to be deported right now. They need to be out of here. And that's all I'm interested in. I understand there are people here that came here illegally, but they're hardworking, God-fearing, raising their children right, behaving, and going by the rules. That's of no concern to me. I'm not in the legislative process. I can tell you that it's a failed system, but it has been for decades. This is nothing new. But it's getting worse and worse and worse. And now we have people coming to this country intentionally victimizing not only residents of this country, but others that are here illegally, and then telling them, you can't go to the police and report it because they'll deport you. So these illegal aliens are coming here committing crime and focusing on those that are weak, those that can't report, at least in their mind. But here's what we tell them. You may be here illegally, but we'll protect you from the criminals. If somebody criminalizes you or victimizes you, you come to us. We'll lock them up no matter who they are. But here's an example. He's here illegally. He's violating the law. He violated another law when he turned in front of the car. Then he violated another law when he fled. None of that would have happened if he was in his home country. None of it.
Just so we're clear, you said he turned in front of her. Can you tell us what street he was on? Like, did he make a right?
He was on 1792, and he was turning onto Shamrock. So he violated her right of way. She T-boned the car. And as a result, when the cars came to a stop, they actually bumped into another car, and that's when he jumped out and ran.
Do you know any more details about how the baby died? I know it wasn't evident that the mom was hurt. Did the airbags go off?
I don't have the details of exactly how the death was caused, but obviously the baby died as a result of the crash. The baby was alive and well up to that point. Okay?
How necessary is it? I mean, I know you all have been looking for them since February 9th. Like, do you have any clues where he might be, or how hard are you all working?
We thought in the beginning that we had clues that we were on him. Quite frankly, that's why we didn't come to the news media earlier, because we didn't want to scare him and cause him to run on us, because he's here illegally, and we didn't want to lose track of him. He doesn't have a lot of friends and family outside of this immediate area that we're aware of. Well, we couldn't find him, and then we came up with this lady here that we need to know who she is, because obviously she's trying to hide him as well. So at the end of the day, we need him.
And where did he work that you think?
I'm not sure where he worked, but we'll get that for you. But he left his employment. He abandoned his house. He knows he's in trouble. But dadgummit, when are we going to get enough of this? How many more people have to die before we figure out people in this country here illegally committing crime should be deported? Quick. Before quick. All right. Thank you all very much. Y'all have a great weekend. You want it this way, or do you want it?
Cindy got that?
About how?
You want it this way or this way?
I'm going to go out there and make sure we film.